my mother Timbo, Valentine. And of course, Priska started on a very positive note in terms of some of the virtues that our lineage, our stock, our bloodline, our family, especially the younger ones, need to be reminded of. We the adults, we know the virtues. However, a reminder now and again is not too bad. One of the things that I'd like to share, among the many things that I could share tonight, the few that I will share, one of the first ones, of course, I'm sure all of us here, when we were growing up, we were taught the Psalms. Never ever underestimate the power of prayer. Never ever underestimate the power of prayer. Every one of us inside here, at some point, we had to ensure that prayer was part of our armory as children and even through our adult life. So this is one of the things that you have to be reminded of. Younger ones, smaller ones, those of you coming up, always keep that in your armory. Another virtue I'll follow along the line of Priska. You always have to believe in yourself. You always have to tell yourself, yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. Let me hear it from the younger ones. Yes, I can do it. Fine. Again. Yes, I can do it. And every time you are faced with a challenge, whether you're playing football, whether you're playing soccer, whether you're studying, whether you're playing basketball, whether you're playing cricket, you have to remind yourself and say, God, yes. Let me hear it again. Yes, I can do it. So never ever tell yourself that you can't. Always say, I will do it. I will do it. I will try. It is also important to recognize there is a word that I always keep in my armory. And that word that I always keep in my armory, and I carried it throughout my life. I'm an attorney today, yes, but that word has always been in my armory, and it will always be in my armory. And that word is resilience. Resilience. Many times you will be knocked down. Many times you will face hurdles. Many times the doors will be closed. That's right. And each time you face a hurdle, you just have to dig, and surmount that hurdle. Sometimes you have to kick down the door. Sometimes you'll get around the door. And let me share some of my life journey with you at this point. After I left school, when I graduated from St. Mary's Academy in 1978, I said, boy, because I said I have to go to university. And that is something that each one of you must remind yourself of. And that is, every African child knows that the best way to fight poverty is to get a good education. And I've reminded myself of that from the time I read it years ago in an article, I believe it was Time on Newsweek. Which one we used to have covered in the library in SME? Times. And for some reason, whenever I went to the St. Mary's Academy Library, I always went to the international magazines and newspapers rather than, and the last thing I would read is our newspaper, because I always wanted to know what was happening out there. And I'm still out there. So along the journey, I decided that I wanted to go to university. I got acceptance to the, back then it was the College of the Virgin Islands. It's now University of the Virgin Islands. I tried to get a student's visa. I was turned down in St. Croix. I went to Barbados. They turned me down again because they said, well, your documents are... First person told me in St. Well, a gentleman, and I'll never forget his name, a gentleman by the name of Uber Singh. He turned me down in St. Croix. He has some practice right now, I think, in St. Croix. He turned me down. I went to Vincent Basemore and my brother Mike. I'm sure all of you all know Michelle. Michelle sponsored me. I went to Barbados. They turned me down again. So that was it for me and getting a student visa to go into the United States. I was also turned down trying to get a visa to go to the UK. I said, okay, no problems. That's not going to stop me. I continued. And I continued to persevere. I organized myself and I went to the University of Guyana. Well, I did my first year with the University of the West Indies Challenge program in Dominica, working and studying. Mr. Shaw, who was the person in charge of the service at the time, God rest his soul, Vernon Shaw, he gave me time off to go, and in the afternoons when I had to go to classes. So I persevered. I did my first year, work and study, University of the West Indies. Then I decided to go to the University of Guyana. I went to the University of Guyana, I completed years 2 and 3. Completed an LLB, so I have a bachelor's degree. Next thing, I'm trying to go to law school. Trying to go to law school, there's a problem between the University of the West Indies and the University of Guyana. A gentleman by the name of, I think it was Mr. Burgess at the time, he said, this degree is not equivalent to ours. There was internal politics between the University of Guyana and the University of the West Indies. So, what do? I decided to persevere. There was a lady who was in charge of the law school at the time by the name of Kathleen Rochford. God rest her soul. She died sometime last year, and wherever I was, I just had to go to the funeral. I bought a ticket and I went to Trinidad to pay my last respects to Mrs. Rochford because she opened the door for me. I bought a ticket and I went to Trinidad. I walked into Mrs. Rochford's office. I said, Mrs. Rochford, my name is Duncan Stowe, and I'm trying to come to law school. I know there are some problems. And I understood that one of the things that you all are planning to do at the university is to give us an exam to write. I said to her, so there were 33 of us, I think it was, who graduated from the University of Guyana at the time, LLB program. I understood from the 33 you all are allowing 10, and all these 10 are Guyanese students. I was the only non-Guyanese student in that class. So if you're having a quota, what's the quota for the rest of us? I'm the only non-national. Is there a quota for non-nationals? She said, you know, that's a very good argument, Mr. Stowe. I will put it to the board. About a week later, Ms. Rochford, I got a letter from the law school saying that I was accepted to the law school. And the rest, of course, is history. Resilience, perseverance. Never tell yourself that you can't do it. When I was graduating, I must say this one. When I was graduating and I saw Mrs. Rochford, the night I collected my certificate, Mrs. Rochford said to me, Duncan Stowe, I will never forget that name. She's gone now. One of the traits, and everyone here will agree with me, our stock, our lineage, our bloodline, this is what keeps us together as family. We give, and we give. We have an undying love for giving. All Drigos, Finns, Austries, you name it, Panises, we have an undying love for giving. People will tell you that they could walk into my mother's house, Priska? They could walk into my mother's house at any time, and even if she has to put on a pot of food for you, she will do it. And I learned that undying love for giving comes with a lot of blessings behind it. Yesterday, Lauren made a comment about generational blessings. All of us here, I'm sure, all of us here would have experienced at some time in our life that generational blessings. My mother, Priska again, sat on a Sunday sometime, my mother cooked food for how many people? Don't you have to go and bring food for this person, that person. Let me tell you something. I'm not doing that for me, you know. I'm doing that for you all. I have children, and you never know where you're going to fall one of those days. So as a result of that, it is part of my being. And let me share a little story with you. I do like to talk about it because I get emotional sometimes. Bear with me. My mother had a stroke. I'm still the only person in Dominica. Everything fell on me. Yeah. So I have to look after my mother. And the way I live and the way I operate, I travel all over the world all the time for me to do work. Because I connect with law firms and companies all over the world. So I decided to get someone to assist me. I got a young lady, a Haitian young lady, and she was the one who would come in the mornings. So